Wind, volcanoes, MT-09s, sex.
Well, the new gloves are going on. What do you think, by the way? I really like them. Enough talk about my new gloves. There's something way more exciting to talk about today, and that's this. The Yamaha MT-09. Now, this is a bike that's really quite close to my heart. It's something of a Hooligan mobile. Might not be the fastest thing on the road, but fuck me, you can have a lot of fun on one of these. So I'm thrilled to say we're in Lanzarote for the launch. This is actually my first launch in a couple of years. Had a little bit of time off due to unforeseen circumstances, but I'm back with a vengeance. Let's start with what's in front of us. For some reason we're on street mode, which I'm not too pleased about, so we're going to fire her up with this new switchgear arrangement. There's rain, street and sport. So rain, street and sport are the three kind of preset modes. There's also two custom modes, so you can go in and faff with the different settings electronically. So I think we're in sport now, so we've got a big ride to do today. A couple of 100 kilometres, or I think they might have even said a couple of 100 miles, all around the beautiful island of Lanzarote. Oh, it's a bit dusty. Oh, tell you what, she's got some poke. So the MT stands for, and this is something I only actually learnt last night, stands for Master of Torque. They do bang on about the I think they call it the rich torque, or the sumptuous torque that you get in the whole of the MT range, really, but not least of all is the MT-09. A torquey little motor, all the way from the dark side of Japan. You wait there, mister. I don't think I'd call it an MT. I think I'd call it an MW, because anything sort of MT-07 and up, so I'm talking MT-07, MT-09, MT-10, MT-10SP, MT-09 SP, etc, etc. What they really are masters of is wheelies. I don't know how what the Lanzarotean police are like when it comes to observing people doing wheelies, but I'm guessing they're not that keen. But hopefully there'll be an opportunity at some point during the day to see if the MT-09 is quite as wheelie happy as its predecessors. Ooh. Them brakes are a bit spicy as well, actually. So we've got a new front brake on this, particularly a Brembo front master cylinder. The brakes have been something that Yamaha, oh, not particularly Yamaha, but the Japanese manufacturers struggle to match the sharpness of European bikes. I mean, the brake that Ducati use, for example, and you know, even the electronics on BMWs and stuff. The braking is something that I think Yamaha have struggled with a little bit, so they've addressed that in one way, the new master cylinder, and they're fucking strong then, they're good. I doubt you'll be able to turn the ABS off, which is always a shame, because I just, you know, I know it's supposed to be a safety feature, but I just feel more in control when I've got when I haven't got ABS on. There was a little trick you used to be able to do on some Yamahas, where if you wheeled it for long enough that the front wheel stopped turning and then put it down, the kind of shock to the system would disable the ABS, which was good fun. One of the new features of this bike is the new quick shifter. So it's got they call it a 4-quadrant quick shifter, which means you can upshift and downshift without the clutch, and whether or not you're accelerating or decelerating. So you can, on a lot of bikes, you need to be decelerating to go down the box like that, and accelerating to go up the box like that. But on this, you can go up the box whilst you're decelerating like this, slow down, up the box, or you can go down the box while you're accelerating like that, if that makes sense. Which at first I thought that's an odd thing to be able to do, but actually, do you know, like this for example, there's a car that you need to overtake, so you open the throttle, you're in the wrong gear, oh, go down a couple, up, without having to roll off. I think that's the kind of idea behind it. Oh bugger, it's starting to rain. Come all the way to Lanzarote for a bit of sunshine, and look, might as well just gone to Bognor Regis. One thing that's instantly noticeable about a bike like this is just how agile it is. It feels mega light. Way up there, there's a bit of dust on the road. Ooh, proper light, proper agile. There's just something that, you know, it wants to go around corners. It's fucking so you can just throw it on its ear like that. Woof, 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 woof. One of the things that probably makes it, you know, feel that little bit more sporty than the last one is the fact that they've adjusted the riding position a little bit, so the foot pegs are, I think, 9.5mm higher and a little bit further back. The handlebars are like 30mm lower, 34mm lower, something like that. So it gives it that kind of slightly sportier riding position, which just adds to the kind of lightness that you get when you're throwing it into corners. The suspension's still probably a little bit more on the sort of comfort side of things than the sporty side of things, but it doesn't take anything away from it. And it probably adds quite a lot, to be honest, particularly when we're going around these roads with the sort of wallowy lumps. Wow, this is great. We've got a new indicator on this, which I don't really like, so we've done a few miles on this now, and I'm struggling to get used to it. Oh fucking hell, it's raining, you bastard. Ow! Yeah, just back to the indicator. You've got automatic cancelling one. You've got like two modes, like a soft press will give you 3 flashes, and a hard press will give you, I think, 15 seconds before it cancels itself. But the difference between a soft press and a hard press is you can't really feel it. So you don't always know what type of press you've pressed and how much indicating you're going to get. I prefer just to turn it on and then turn it off. You know, on a normal indicator, you click it left to go left, and then push it back to the middle to kind of turn it off, or push it in to turn it off. Well, on this, if we want to go left, we click left, and if we want to turn it off, we click left again, and it's all a bit backwards. I don't know if you can see these two kind of venty bits here. There's a new air intake under there, which the trumpets kind of point upwards, because they wanted to kind of accentuate that that intake roar that you get from the MT-09. Or, you know, all the MT ranges really. They're kind of a throaty sounding bike, particularly the bigger ones, and they wanted to make a big deal of that, so they've put some new intakes on that amplify that noise a little bit. I think it sounds good. You don't get a lot of exhaust noise on modern bikes really, do you? Because they're all choked up with catalytic converters and all the rest of it, so it's nice to kind of have something to listen to, and I think it sounds great actually. Rain, rain, go away. Come again when I've gone home, you bugger. I suppose the problem with putting cruise control and all these extra bits and bats on, it does just ramp the price up a little bit, doesn't it? And I think the MT-09 used to be a bike that was really, really good value for money, and I think it is still good value for money, but I think it was kind of the bike that was, you know, value was its kind of one of its unique selling points, and now it's £10,100 I think, so it's it's not cheap, and there are other bikes in the kind of in the category that are a little bit less. There's some that are more. Hope you can see out that rainy lens. Let me try and give it a wipe. There we go. Is that better? Hey, up there. It's warm and wet, just how I like it. Warm and wet. Talking about all the kind of extra tech that they've put on this bike, they've actually made it a little bit heavier. They weren't specific in the briefing exactly how much heavier it is, but it's a little bit heavier than the old bike. Not that you can tell. It still feels like you know, a nimble, mega lightweight little thing, but yeah, just when you fire in all them extra kind of ECUs and cables and computers and sensors and all that bollocks, you know, you can't do that without adding weight. The frame itself isn't any heavier, and it's almost identical to the last one, but they said they've put a slightly different bracket where the headstock fixes to it, and a couple of kind of engine mounts have been tweaked a little bit, but essentially the frame's the same. Testing. Very nice. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Well, that was a nice cappuccino. Now I'm going to try this in street mode. It calms everything down a little bit in the sort of interest of investigation and good journalism. I'm going to try it out. I wouldn't normally tone down a kind of 117 brake horsepower motorcycle. I don't think that needs toning down, but we'll try it. In actual fact, it doesn't actually seem any slower. I think what you have in street mode or power mode 2 is a setting that's it will give you the same amount of power when you flat out, but the throttle connection is a little bit softer. Well, I'm pleased to say the sun's come out, which is nice because the rain was playing havoc with the GoPro microphone. I did get quite moist. It's not going to dampen my spirits. It might dampen me, but it's not going to dampen my spirits. I think it's easy to forget how important this bike is, not just for Yamaha, but you know, for motorcycling in general. This is a model that, when it was released 10 years ago, well, it rescued Yamaha because, well, what are we fucking doing here? Are you going or not? You fucking pudding. Well, that was a bit of bad riding, but never mind. It was at a time when it was sort of beginning of the kind of hyper naked revolution, if you like. Yes, there was naked bikes, but they were either a little bit tame, or they were just kind of sports bikes with wide handlebars and the fairings ripped off. Whereas now manufacturers are kind of putting, you know, time and effort, massive amounts of resources into developing bikes like this. You know, it's not an offshoot of something else. It's its own thing. And then at the same time, it was the first MT, and MTs, I mean, but the hell, you can't move for MTs these days. And it's done so well. I mean, the sales figures are ridiculous, and it doesn't take long riding this bike to understand why people love them. It's a fucking cracking little bike. It just puts a smile on your face. Oh gosh, all that volcanic rock looks really, really uncomfortable, doesn't it? Well, that looks nice. I think Lanzarote is one of them places where you're allowed to do like nudist stuff. You get your kit off, which I'm a fan of, to be honest. I think, why not? If you've got it, flaunt it. Get your knob out. Do you know what? When you come on a bike launch, it's particularly these days, it's really difficult to critique modern bikes because they're all that good. And this is another example of a bike that's just fucking, it just does what it's supposed to do. It does exactly what it says on the tin. Puts a massive smile on your face, and there isn't really anything wrong with it. You know, the only way you can kind of pick any bits and pieces, is being really nitpicky and, you know, talking about daft things like, oh, I don't really like the way the indicator works, or, you know, the foot pegs look a bit funny. You know, you find yourself talking about daft little things, because it is only the daft little things that stop this being a perfect little bike. Shall I have a listen of the horn, see what that's like? That's respectable, isn't it? You'll notice the dashboard. That's the new dash, full colour TFT jobby, which, yeah, let's be fair, isn't particularly groundbreaking these days, but it's nice to have. It's nice to keep up with the Joneses a little bit. We're in street mode now, and it is a lot like sport mode. You feel like you've got the power there, but it's just, I think it's that initial opening of the throttle, that bit feels a little bit softer, and I think you can change the mode on the fly, so I'm going to press mode there. Right now we're in sport. Yeah, so that kind of initial kick of the throttle there, that's where the difference is. And it's maybe feels like there's a little bit more mid-range there. I prefer it in sport mode. It feels a bit more aggressive, and I like that. Some people won't. So not only does it change the power mode, it changes the traction mode, the slide control mode, the lift as in wheelie, and then custom 1 and 2, which I just learned while we're having coffee. You can actually change the names of them custom modes. So you could, you know, if you wanted to call one, I don't know, pillion mode, or dangerous riding mode, you'd be well within your rights to. Comfort wise, I've got no complaints, is what it is. There's a new seat on this. So on the old MTs it was kind of like, or old MT-09s, it was like a single piece seat, so you had the main seat and the pillion seat all in one bit, but they've separated it now, so there's like a separate seat for the pillion on the back, and it's nice because it gives you like a bit of a bump stop, if you like, not a backrest, but kind of, you can feel where the back of the seat is. I think on the other one sometimes you'd slide about a little bit too much, which isn't conducive to a great road ride. Great if you're riding off-road, because you can move your weight around a lot, but I think you need to do that on a bike like this. So they've secured you in place a little bit better on this bike. You know, it's obviously been announced there's going to be an MT-09 SP, which I'm assuming will have all-in suspension, it'll have a bit of carbon fibre here and there, and it'll have that SP colour scheme, which I think looks the dog's bollocks. So I'm looking forward to that. We are, of course, running Bridgestone's S23 tyre on this bike, which is always nice. It's actually a special spec rather than just kind of the standard S23 that you buy in the shop. Bridgestone and Yamaha have obviously worked together and made a tyre that does exactly what Yamaha wanted to do for this model, which I will say isn't unusual. That's fairly typical when bikes use an OE. I'm hoping you can hear me because it's really windy, and I have actually had some issues with the old GoPro microphone. So I was talking to one of the Yamaha guys over lunch, and he told me that in Europe they run MT tours. It's like a small bike festival for MT owners, from MT125 to MT10s, and for one of these events they paid a tattooist to come and set up shop there, and the deal was you could have a free tattoo if it was a tattoo of the MT logo. And I think they thought, oh, no one's actually going to do that, get an actual tattoo of the MT logo. Lo and behold, by lunchtime there was a queue out the door for a free MT tattoo. So there you go. Don't think I'd be queuing up for an MT tattoo, or any type of tattoo for that matter. you can ram that right up your ass. Speaking of tattoos, shout out to the young lady who came to see us on the cinema tour, recent cinema tour of the Budget Bike Battle Trip. She showed us her tattoo, which was a tattoo of myself, Fagan and Chris's autograph on her leg. So there you go. Obviously out and out A-listers now, the three of us. Oh, where's Jeff going? Now we've spent nearly a full day on the MT-09. My bottom is a little bit achy. There's a bit of body ache. Nothing to write home about, but no, that said, this probably isn't a bike that you do really long days in the saddle in. It's not a touring bike, is it? I think you could go touring on it, but I don't think comfort was particularly high on the list of priorities when they designed this bike, and that's fine, because it does everything else very well. Yes, Yamaha have taken what was already a cracking little motorbike and refined it, sharpened it up, given it some sort of, you know, modern cutting edge tech. All I've done is made this bike better, and it was already pretty good in the first place, so for that, this gets full marks. So if you haven't had a test ride on one of these and you're looking for something in the 10 grand zone, go and have a look at one of these, because you're gonna fucking love it. Bye, thanks for watching. Put simply, the new MT-09 is a bike whose smooth throttle connection, punchy torque curve and throaty sounding motor make it as easy to ride as it is exciting. The engine's got more than enough oomph to hoist the front wheel in the air should you be a fan of antisocial riding, and the updated electronics package does a sterling job of keeping everything in check and ensuring things stay reasonably safe, without feeling as though it's interfering too much with your ride. Everything I asked the MT to do, it did it instantly and fairly urgently. After 100 miles or so in the saddle, you'll definitely be ready to start stretching your legs, but let's face it, if you're the type of person that's going to worry too much about comfort, you're probably not the right person for a Yamaha MT anything. The only real complaints I had with the bike were, in the grand scheme of things, fairly insignificant, like the fact that I wasn't overly keen on the switch gears and the self-cancelling indicator, and those are little niggles that, as well as being fairly subjective, are probably things that you'd soon get used to if you own the bike and rode it all the time. I don't think it matters whether you're a seasoned motorcyclist or you've only just passed your test. The 2024 MT-09 is a bike that's going to put a big smile on your face, however you ride it. It definitely put a smile on mine.